Betrayal doesn't always come in loud, violent forms. Sometimes it's in the quiet absence, the unnoticed glance, the empty space at the table where you once sat. The air in the room is thick with unspoken tension. The table is neatly set, the china gleaming under the soft light, yet the silence is deafening. Every clink of the fork, every rustle of the napkin feels like a stark reminder of how you no longer belong. You sit at the edge, not at the center where you once claimed your place, your presence barely acknowledged. The others move with practiced ease, the comfortable rhythm of family life continuing without you. But every moment feels like an intrusion. The sharp sting of exclusion is almost physical, like a weight pressing down on your chest. Your hands rest in your lap, your fingers twisting slightly, an unconscious reaction to the deep discomfort. You glance at the empty chair across from you, once the place where you would have been welcomed, now a silent witness to your solitude. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when you were part of the conversation, when your words mattered. But now, your presence feels like an afterthought. You recall the moments, so subtle, so easily dismissed, when you were left out of decisions, when your opinion was ignored. The quiet dinner gatherings where your voice wasn't heard, the family events where you were an invisible participant. The sacrifices you made, the quiet concessions for the sake of peace, now seem like foolish attempts to fit into a family that never truly saw you. You remember those moments clearly, like whispers in the back of your mind. Your mother, or maybe your mother-in-law, always ready with an excuse to exclude you, never asking for your help but demanding it when it was too late. Your attempts to contribute were always met with polite smiles, but there was always that barrier, unspoken yet ever present. A glance here, a small word there, each one a reminder that you were never truly seen. The room feels colder now, even as the others continue to move around, oblivious to the emotional distance that has grown between you. You can feel it in the way your body tenses, the way your breath catches in your throat when someone brushes past without acknowledgement. You are not part of this. The truth sinks. And slowly, like a stone in your stomach. You've been left out, sidelined, your place taken by someone else. The family dynamic has shifted, and you, somehow, no longer fit. The table is no longer yours to sit at. The conversation's no longer yours to enter. You are an outsider, a shadow in the very space that should have been home. Slowly, you begin to see it for what it is. You've been pushed out, deliberately left behind. It's not just the absence of a chair at the table. It's the absence of your voice, your influence, your worth. You've been cast aside, and yet, the world around you continues as if nothing has changed. The weight of that realization settles over you like a fog. It isn't a sudden explosion of emotion, but a quiet, creeping understanding that grows clearer with every passing second. The family doesn't see you, doesn't need you anymore, and that truth hits harder than any confrontation could. There is no loud argument, no angry outburst. Just the quiet, suffocating reality that you no longer matter. It's in the small things, the way your presence is ignored, the way your absence is unremarked upon. The truth is clear now. You've been erased, pushed to the edges of the family, no longer at its heart. And as that truth settles, something inside you begins to shift. Not anger, not regret, just a quiet, growing resolve. If they don't need you, you will take back what's yours. If you're not wanted at the table, you will make your own space elsewhere. The quiet humiliation of exclusion becomes the seed of your quiet defiance. No longer a victim, but someone who will reclaim control, if only by leaving the space they once occupied. The realization stings, but there is power in it. And with that power, you will begin to reshape your life on your own terms. The family room feels colder than it should, the air thick with an unspoken tension. The table is set again, this time with an additional chair placed at the head, where it once belonged to you. The meal is the same as always, the same routine, but the seat beside you remains conspicuously empty. It's a small detail, but it's enough to make you feel invisible, a ghost in the room. You can't help but notice how the conversation unfolds around you. Like you're no longer part of the conversation at all. Your attempts to interject are met with polite nods, but the words don't seem to land. It's as if your voice has become a faint echo, one that they no longer have the time or interest to hear. Your eyes flicker to the empty space at the table, the spot you once filled with ease, now a place that no longer seems to welcome you. The others talk, laugh, even argue, but they do so without the urgency of looking to you for approval, without needing your input. There's a deliberate ease in their interactions, a silent understanding that you're no longer needed. Your hand trembles slightly as you reach for your glass, but you quickly hide it under the table, knowing no one is watching. The forced smiles and the hollow pleasantries slip effortlessly into place. But it's the small things that hit hardest, the way your mother, or maybe your mother-in-law, barely glances at you when she hands you a plate. The way she asks someone else if they'd like more, but not you. It's not enough to cause a scene, but it's enough to make you feel like you've been forgotten. Even the way your child, once so eager for your attention, turns to another for comfort, for reassurance. It's not malicious, not outright cruel, but it stings in its quiet rejection. You sit at the edge of the table, watching, a silent observer to a scene that should be familiar but no longer feels like home. The room, which was once filled with warmth and laughter, now feels like a stage where you are merely a bystander. The chair you occupy is the same as always, but somehow it feels smaller, less significant. Your movements, once fluid and comfortable, now seem measured, as if you're trying too hard to fit into a space that no longer wants you. You take a slow sip of your drink, but even that feels awkward, a solitary action that no one notices. The conversation continues, but you can't shake the feeling that it's happening without you. The words are directed at someone else, and you are just a presence, a faint shadow in the background. Your eyes linger on your child, once so full of love and devotion, now lost in their own world, their own conversation. You realize, quietly and without fanfare, that you have become a spectator in your own life. The mask you've worn for so long, of the devoted mother, the attentive partner, has started to crack, revealing a loneliness that you can no longer ignore. It's not a loud break. It doesn't come with anger or confrontation. It's a slow unraveling, a quiet awareness that this is no longer the family you once knew. They've moved on, and you're left behind, no longer part of the equation. The smile you force onto your face feels like a lie, but it's the only mask you have left. So you wear it, not for them, but for yourself. You swallow the lump in your throat and continue to play your part, even as you feel the weight of the invisible walls closing in around you. The subtle neglect, the dismissals, the feeling of being invisible, it all adds up, quietly, until the weight is too much to bear. You may sit at the table, but you no longer belong there. The realization is both painful and freeing. It's time to let the mask slip a little further, just enough to let yourself see the truth, even if it hurts. The kitchen is warm, the faint smell of cooking wafting through the house as you stand by the counter, carefully chopping vegetables. The soft clink of the knife against the cutting board is the only sound, but there's an underlying tension in the air, a quiet discomfort you can't quite place. It's the same kitchen where you once felt so at home, where you'd share laughs over dinner preparations and trade small talk with your family. But now, as you glance over your shoulder, you notice your mother-in-law standing in the doorway, watching you without a word. She doesn't offer to help, doesn't ask about your day, just stands there, her arms crossed, her gaze distant. You continue chopping, trying to ignore the uncomfortable silence, but it lingers in the space between you. The moment drags on, heavy and unspoken. The knife in your hand feels cold, the repetition of the task somehow soothing yet hollow. You remember when this kitchen felt like a shared space, a place where you and your family came together. But now, it's as if you've been relegated to the sidelines, no longer a participant, but an observer in the very home you once felt part of. You think back to the time when you first joined this family, how you used to sit at the dinner table, your voice heard, your opinions valued. Your mother-in-law, always the center of attention, would smile at you, include you in conversations, even if you had little to say. At that time, you were welcomed, included. But as the years passed, the small things started to change. The way she would pause when you spoke, her eyes flicking to the others as if to see if your words held any weight. The little moments where you would suggest an idea, only to see it ignored, or worse, repeated by someone else, met with praise. You didn't want to acknowledge it at first, thinking it was just a misunderstanding, or maybe you were being too sensitive. But now, as you stand in the kitchen, the truth feels undeniable. You've been pushed aside, quietly, subtly, until now, when you realize the space you once filled has grown too small for you. Your role in the family has shifted, and you didn't even notice it happening. The small dismissals, the subtle exclusions, they didn't seem important at first. They were easy to brush off, just a part of life, a part of being in a family. But now, looking back, it's clear. You were never truly seen, never truly valued. It's a quiet kind of pain, the realization that you've been sidelined not by loud words or overt actions, but by the slow, insidious erosion of your place. You wonder when it started, when the warmth in the kitchen, the inclusion at the table, began to fade. Was it the time your mother-in-law asked you to leave early from a family event, citing her own needs, never considering yours? Or was it when your husband started spending more time at his mother's house, leaving you to manage everything on your own? The details are murky now, but the feeling lingers. The room seems to close in around you as you finish the chopping, the knife now resting heavy in your hand. The distance between you and the family feels too wide to bridge, too deep to cross. As you set the knife down, you glance once more at the doorway where your mother-in-law still stands, her expression unreadable. You wonder, silently, if she knows. If she even notices how far apart you've drifted. The realization is bittersweet. There was a time when you were the center, when you belonged here, in this space, in this family. But now, you're just a bystander, a shadow in the very life you once shared. The subtle betrayals, the quiet exclusions, have left their mark, and the truth settles deep inside you like a weight you can't escape. The evening feels colder than it should, despite the warmth of the house. The dinner table is set again, with an extra seat beside your husband. You're sitting across from him, but it feels like a world apart. The soft hum of conversation fills the room, but your words fall into the cracks, unnoticed. Your husband's mother, ever present, her face tight with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes, sits next to him. She casually asks how your day went, but it's more of a polite gesture than an actual interest in your response. She's looking at him while she speaks, her gaze lingering just a bit too long on him, as though you're not even there. The clink of utensils is louder than usual, a rhythmic reminder of the space between you. You smile, offering a polite answer, but it feels like a rehearsed response, the words slipping from your lips with no real meaning behind them. Your eyes shift to your child, sitting quietly at the end of the table, their focus entirely on their grandmother, eagerly listening to her stories, her laughter ringing out with ease. Your presence here is nothing more than a background noise, an accessory to the scene. You try to contribute, asking a question about the day, but it's as if your words were an interruption. Your husband answers with a smile that's meant to reassure you, but it feels like an empty gesture, a surface-level response that fails to reach you. The way your mother-in-law responds to him, with such ease and familiarity, feels like a soft slap in the face. She touches his arm lightly, as if reminding you of something you've long forgotten. You no longer share that closeness. She's the one who's still needed. You glance at your own hands, still gripping the edge of the table, but they feel detached, as though they belong to someone else. You watch as your child turns back to you briefly, a fleeting moment of recognition, before their attention is once again drawn back to her grandmother. That look, that subtle shift, feels like a chasm opening between you. It's not their fault. It's just the way it is now. You're no longer the first choice, no longer the one to turn to. As the conversation continues, you stay silent, watching, reflecting on how easily you've been pushed out. There was a time when you would have been at the heart of this conversation, when your words would have mattered, when your presence would have been sought after. But now, it's as though you're invisible, a shadow in the corner of the room. You think back to moments, small but sharp, when you felt the shift, when your husband began to spend more time with her, when your mother-in-law began to take control over the family's decisions, and you, left behind, went unnoticed. You convinced yourself it wasn't intentional, that it was just a phase, that maybe you were overthinking it. But now, as you sit at the table, it all becomes painfully clear. She's the one they need. She's the one who holds the power now. And you're just someone who's been quietly edged out, left with nothing but the remnants of what used to be. The way she speaks, the way she touches his arm, the way she engages the child, it all makes sense now. She's the center of this family, not you. You've been sidelined, not with an argument, but with a series of quiet gestures that have left you standing on the periphery. You swallow the lump in your throat and try to hold it together, but it's harder now. The weight of being pushed aside, of being replaced, is too much to bear. And yet, you don't say anything. You stay quiet, because that's what you've always done. You tell yourself it's fine, that it's nothing, that you're just being sensitive. But deep down you know. The family you once thought you were a part of, the family you tried so hard to please, is no longer yours. It's hers now, and you're just a ghost in the background. The room is quiet, too quiet, as the family gathers once again. The table is set, the food laid out carefully, but the usual warmth is absent. Your husband sits at one end, his mother beside him, as if they've found their place in the center of everything, while you sit at the edge, unnoticed. The clinking of silverware, the soft murmur of voices, fills the space, but the absence of any real connection is deafening. Then, in the middle of the meal, your mother-in-law turns to you, her voice steady but cold, and asks, "Are you planning to stay for dessert?" The words are so simple, so casual, yet they strike like a blow. It's the first time she's asked you directly, but the implication is clear. There's no need for you to be here, no reason for you to stay. The air shifts in that moment, the weight of the unspoken truth settling between you. You look at your husband, searching his face for any sign that he might acknowledge the discomfort in the room, that he might see you, but he doesn't. He continues talking, laughing with his mother, as though nothing has changed, as though you are not even there. You sit there, frozen, the words ringing in your ears. You don't respond, can't respond. There is nothing to say. It's the final, undeniable moment that makes it clear. You have been replaced. The family you thought you belonged to is no longer yours. Your place has been taken, not with anger or confrontation, but with indifference, with polite distance. The realization is like a sharp, quiet pain, one that you cannot ignore anymore. You are not part of this. You are no longer at the center. The room feels smaller now, the space you once occupied shrinking to nothing. You slowly lower your fork, the food in front of you untouched, no longer appealing. You look around the table one last time, at the faces that once felt like home. They don't look at you the way they once did. There is no warmth in their eyes, no need for you to be here. You stand up slowly, quietly, not drawing attention to yourself. There is no confrontation, no shouting, no dramatic exit. You simply leave, walking out of the room as though you are walking away from a life you no longer belong to. As you pass through the doorway, you don't look back. The silence behind you is deafening, but you don't need to hear it anymore. The truth is clear now, sharper than ever. You have been quietly pushed aside, and there is no going back. The family, the home, the life you once had, it's all slipping away, leaving you to find a new place, one where you might still belong. The house feels different now. The air is thick with the weight of a reality that has settled in and refuses to leave. You move through the rooms like a ghost, touching things that used to bring comfort, but now, they feel distant, unfamiliar. The kitchen, where you spent hours preparing meals, is quiet, too quiet. You stand at the sink, washing dishes, the sound of running water filling the silence, but it feels deafening. The motion of your hands is automatic, almost mechanical, as if your body is still here, but your mind has long since left. The subtle weight of abandonment presses down on you. You remember when this space was alive with laughter, with voices that once turned to you for comfort, for direction. But now, as you wipe the plates clean, it feels like nothing more than a memory, something that belongs to a past version of you. You glance over at the dining table, now set for a smaller group. The empty chair beside your husband is gone, replaced with a sense of finality. You think back to the dinners you used to host, the moments when your presence mattered, when your voice was heard. But now, you're left to clean up after others, a silent witness to a family dynamic that no longer includes you. The subtle shifts have become impossible to ignore. The way they talk over you, the way your husband no longer looks at you the same way, the way your role in this house has been quietly, completely erased. You sit down at the table for a moment, your hands resting on the cold surface, the weight of the silence pressing down on you. The family portrait on the wall, once a symbol of togetherness, now feels like a reminder of everything you've lost. You see the faces of those who have moved on without you, their smiles frozen in time. It's as if you were never truly a part of this, just a placeholder until someone else could take your place. The realization settles in deeper now, undeniable. You've been replaced. Your presence here no longer matters. The home you once helped build, the family you once thought was yours, has shifted, and you've been left behind. You rise slowly, walking to the window, looking out at the yard, the same yard that once felt like your sanctuary, now just a space that you no longer belong to. The world outside continues, indifferent to your loss. You turn away from the window, your footsteps soft against the floor, the house now quieter than ever. The stillness hangs in the air, the space once filled with the chaos of family life now hollow, waiting to be filled by someone else. You know, with a certainty that cuts deep, that nothing will ever be the same. Your place in this family is gone. It's not just the seat at the table, it's the absence of your influence, your importance. You move through the house, each step farther from the life you once knew, and though there's no one to witness it, you can't help but feel the weight of your own disappearance. The house feels quieter now, as though the walls themselves have absorbed the silence that has settled into your bones. You walk through the rooms with a sense of detachment, each step deliberate, each movement measured. The weight of the last few weeks, the recognition of how far you've been pushed aside, still lingers in the back of your mind, but now it feels different. There is no longer the desperate need for acknowledgement or the yearning for things to return to how they were. The desire to belong has faded, replaced with a sharp clarity that cuts through the fog. You stand in the kitchen for a moment, looking at the family photos on the fridge, the ones that once felt so familiar, now distant and irrelevant. With a slow breath, you move to the drawer where you've kept the important papers, the house deed, the financial documents, the things that hold meaning now. You take them out one by one, each sheet a reminder of what was yours, what you once had a hand in building. There's no anger as you lay them out, no frustration, just a quiet acceptance of what you must do. You flip through the papers, your fingers brushing over the pages, as if making peace with each one. The house, the property, the life that once seemed so certain, now feels like a series of transactions, an arrangement that you no longer need to be part of. The power has shifted, and you're ready to take it back, not through confrontation, but through careful, quiet actions. As you slide the papers back into the drawer, you glance at the door where your husband once stood, where his presence used to feel like a solid, unshakable part of your life. Now, he feels like a stranger, someone who no longer belongs beside you. You don't need to speak it out loud. There's nothing to explain, no reason to justify the decision you're making. It's not about revenge, not about getting back what was once yours. It's about control, about reclaiming a part of yourself that you gave away too easily. The idea of leaving, of taking that first step away from the family, feels freeing now, not burdensome. You walk through the house one more time, not to relive the memories, but to mark the end of an era. Every room you pass feels colder, more distant, but there is a sense of peace in it. The familiar spaces, the once welcoming corners, are no longer yours to inhabit. The shift has happened, and it's time to move on. You stand at the door, hand resting on the handle, looking out into the yard, the place that once felt like your own. The grass still grows, the flowers still bloom, but the home you built is no longer a part of you. With a steady hand, you open the door, step outside, and let it close behind you. There's no dramatic moment, no last word spoken, just the quiet realization that this is your choice now. You are no longer part of that life. It's not a rejection of them. It's a quiet acknowledgement that your path has changed, and the life you were once a part of no longer defines you. The door closes softly, and for the first time in a long while, you feel the weight lift, the silence no longer heavy but a soft release. The days after you left the house pass quietly, almost unnoticed by the world around you. The silence is no longer oppressive, but a steady hum that fills the empty spaces. You stand in front of a new set of documents, the weight of the decision settling heavily in your hands. But there is no hesitation now. The papers, once a symbol of everything you had been denied, are now the key to the new life you are about to shape. There is no rush, no dramatic gesture. Everything is deliberate, calm, controlled. The decision to take back what was once yours does not come from a place of anger, but of quiet understanding. You no longer seek their approval, their acknowledgement, or even their forgiveness. You've learned, through all of this, that your worth was never tied to the house, to the role they gave you, to the family structure that had slowly consumed you. You flip through the pages one last time, ensuring every detail is correct, every line in its place. There's a finality in it, the calm certainty of knowing that you are in control now. You gather the documents, your fingers brushing over the edges, and for the first time in what feels like years, you feel a sense of peace. It's not the peace of making things right or fixing what was broken. It's the peace of accepting that things were never meant to stay the same. You are no longer part of that life. The house, the family, the role you once played, they no longer define you. You leave the papers on the desk, walking to the window, looking out at the world beyond. The trees sway gently in the breeze, and for the first time in a long while, you can breathe without feeling the weight of expectation pressing down on you. The decision is made. The life you once knew is no longer yours. And for the first time, you can see your own future, clear and unencumbered. You close the window, the soft click of it shutting echoing in the stillness. It's a small sound, but it feels final. You step back, turning away from the house that once was your home, and with a quiet breath, you walk away. The path ahead is uncertain, but for the first time, you feel ready. The weight of the past has been lifted, and all that remains is the freedom to move forward. How many of us wait too long to make that change? When was the last time you truly chose your own path?